Welcome to another edition of SAT TV News. I am Alicia George. In our top story, DHTA calls for greater efforts to be made in development of renewable energy. TVET task force to introduce standardized forms for CBQs. From the region, 4 killed in Bahamas plane crash. And internationally, World Health Organization says Ebola death toll rises to 1,229. In sports, Scotiabank donates cricket kits to local academy. Stay with me for the details of these and other stories coming up right after the break. Welcome back. The Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, DHTA, has sounded a call for more effort to be placed in sourcing efficient forms of renewable energy. Speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, Gregor Nassif, president of the DHTA, said the association would like to see improvements in energy costs and has taken initiatives in that area. Nassif said hotel establishments have already begun to use solar energy in their operation.
We have certain operations that have already started to use solar as a replacement for the energy. As you know, we have a property that's operating largely from a wind turbine, and there are several things we can do in terms of upgrading to new forms of light bulbs, LED, and a host of things.
Nassif added that the association is fully supportive of government's initiative to develop geothermal energy on the island as long as it is sustainable and has no negative impacts. Meanwhile, Secretary at the DHTA, Ariane Perriman, pointed out that Dominica remains the most difficult and expensive tourist destination to get to in the region.
Regionally, our island is the most difficult and most expensive to get to. Our marketing budget per visitor is one of the lowest in the region, and our businesses pay the highest energy rates and VAT rates. As well, our operations and employees are subjected to an atypical application of the VAT Act. And our current and future investors face the highest barriers to investment in the form of transfer taxes, alien land holding fees, and stamp duties.
Perriman did say, however, that there is potential in the tourism industry, noting that it has and continues to be the greatest economic GDP contributor for the island.
The industry has and continues to be the greatest economic GDP contributor for the island. As we know, this speaks volumes about the tourism industry's potential. If we do what needs to be done, this is the industry that will drive Dominica forward.
The Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association is a private sector association of businesses, organizations, and individuals involved in improving the hotel and tourism sector experience in Dominica. Members of the Technical Vocational Education and Training TVET Task Force today completed a 2-day TVET workshop organized by the Ministry of Education, MOE. Nicholas Goldberg, Senior Education Officer, said this workshop is important as Dominica is currently working on establishing its very own Technical Vocational Training Council, which will enable Caribbean Vocational Qualifications, CVQs, to operate here.
The Ministry of Education in particular is wanting to move into Caribbean Vocational Qualifications in schools. To make this a reality and to ensure that our pilot program, which is beginning in free schools, comes about, we need to put certain things in place. We need to ensure that the standards we have meet that of CARICOM and of the agencies, so we need to make sure everything is of the proper standard. We also need to ensure that we have proper record-keeping forms, because the assessment is somewhat different to that which is done by CXC with CSEC.
Goldberg said they must have standardized forms and/or formats of reporting to ensure that all students across the region are assessed equally. Goldberg noted Orlando Hewitt, TVT workshop facilitator, is vital in the formation of such forms. The manual for center management, health and safety, in addition to other aspects relating to the establishment of CVQs on the island, were also discussed. Hewitt said this workshop is one of many being held across the Caribbean to harmonize the approach to the CVQs.
One of the things that we're establishing is that, one, there is what is called a center approval criteria process. So all the secondary schools or high schools that will be used as part of the pilot project, we have actually established that form. Persons will be using that forms to conduct what I call audit activities to ensure that all the requirements are in the necessary TVET centers or secondary schools for approval. The other things that we're looking at are forms pertaining to the assessment, because we have to protect the integrity of the assessment activity leading to the CVQ. So we're standardizing and harmonizing those forms here in Dominica as well as throughout the region.
Hewitt said the workshop is also vital as 3 schools will begin the CVQs in the new school term. Hewitt added, following the workshop, the TVET task force will ensure there is a robust system of monitoring and evaluation of assessment activities. Managing Director of Parry W. Bellot & Co. Limited, Michael Fagan, is expressing gratitude to the Dominica Agricultural and Development Bank, the Aid Bank, for approving a $4.9 million loan, which will hopefully assist in rebuilding the company. Bello, as the company is affectionately known, is an indigenous agro-processing company and has been operating in Dominica for the past 68 years. In recent years, however, the homegrown company has been experiencing cash flow issues.
As you would appreciate, we were going through a global economic slowdown. And, many people think that's a buzzword, but global economic slowdown means that customers who used to pay me up front or in 30 days started paying me in 60, 90, and 120 days. At the same point in time, the safety net, the financial sector, the banking sector that we had arrangements with kind of locked up their facilities. So we were unable to buy the raw and packaging materials that we needed as a safety net to rebuild our business. And that's how we ended up in this situation. So we tried to communicate with our main bank, and then we approached the Aid Bank when we were at an impasse of communication at that point. We approached the Aid Bank in, I believe, 2011, and we signed a deal with them on Thursday, which I'm very thankful for.
Fagan says the loan assistance package, which was negotiated in 2011, will assist the agro-processing company in procuring raw materials, equipment, and upgrading its current plant operations in Castle Comfort.
We will be putting money into raw and packaging materials so that to bolster, so that we don't have the shortages that we've had in the past. That is glass, labels, caps, tamper evidence seals, as well as the raw material like pepper or passion fruit or whatever crops that we buy locally. We buy 85% of our crops locally, and we only supplement when we can't get enough from Dominica.
Since the start of the global economic downturn, the company, according to Fagan, has been negatively impacted and was forced to significantly reduce its operations. The internationally known company manufactures 17 products, including its popular Bello pepper sauce and tropical fruit juices. Fagan told SAT TV News over the next 12 months, Bello will focus on addressing core issues which will assist the company in regaining its financial stability.
For the first year, I'll really be concentrating on my core items. I will need to focus on my core items to get back to financial health. And then as we meet and exceed our goals, you'll probably see us doing products that are both traditional in nature or influenced by traditional recipes. So you should see that more in the future.
The $4.9 million loan agreement, which was approved and signed last week, will be paid to Bello by installments. The Dominica Guadeloupe Association, DGA, in collaboration with the Dominica Council on Aging, DCOA, is dedicated to providing further assistance to elderly persons on the island. Maymont Paul, coordinator of the Dominica Guadeloupe Association, said he saw the need to care for the elderly and as a Dominican decided to form DGA. Paul added that the establishment of the entity was made even stronger due to the support that Dominicans offered to Guadeloupe during riots several years ago.
16 years ago, you would hear about the riots in Guadeloupe. But there were brave Dominicans who came out and said, out of a minority of a small little people, They are heroes in Guadeloupe, and we formed the Dominican Guadeloupe Association. We assist our Dominican national. Also, we also work with the government of Dominica. We assist, we improve our programs. But also in our social department at our association, we think about our homeland Dominica.
To date, the Dominica Guadeloupe Association has donated 28 wheelchairs and 5 electric beds to the DCOA and is committed to providing more assistance.
We want to continue the program. We have other beds in Guadeloupe, but we want to know that everything is moving on fine and we can continue our program. Also, we went further also. We have another institute with us this afternoon, is Secours des Catholiques. We are going to sign a convention with them very soon. So we are back in Dominica and we are going to Sione. You know what it's called Sione? We're going to go for Dominica again with these two groups and sit there, and we're going back to Guadeloupe and tell our friends over there we can make the difference.
The coordinator of the Dominica Guadeloupe Association said 25 more wheelchairs will be distributed to Dominica shortly. When we return, Prime Minister Skerrit calls on citizens to do more to assist the less fortunate. Thanks for staying with us. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has called on all citizens to assist in caring for the less fortunate in society. The Prime Minister made the appeal on Sunday at the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary Assumption in Pennville. He added that helping those who are less fortunate is not a choice.
We have to look after the less fortunate in our society. This is not a choice. It is a responsibility which we have to care for the elderly and the less fortunate among us. And this is why I have led a government that has placed the less fortunate at the center of our programs to ensure that those among us who are not able to take care of ourselves, we can do so. But it is not only the responsibility of the government, it is the responsibility of each one of us. If you have too much, you should share with your neighbor who doesn't have anything.
According to the Prime Minister, if a child next door does not have a pair of shoes to go to school, it should be our responsibility, those of us who can afford, to buy that child a pair of shoes. The Prime Minister also highlighted the need for freedom in religion.
We have in Iraq a group called ISIS that is pursuing Christians with a view to exterminating them from the face of the earth. But here in Dominica, we have absolute religious freedom, and we do not need to have any form of protection to worship in our country. And I think it is something that we have to guard, it is something that we have to cherish, and it's something all of us must continue to aspire for. Because there are many parts of the world where people do not have that level of freedom.
And in court news, a decision has been reserved in a murder matter involving 5 police officers accused of killing a Portsmouth man while in lawful custody. The defense counsel for the 4 men and 1 woman had made an application in the magistrate's court to seek judicial review of the matter before the High Court, and that application was granted by a magistrate. In the civil section of the High Court on Tuesday, Justice Errol Thomas heard arguments from both sides. Counsel for 4 of the accused, Lennox Lawrence, who relied heavily on a matter in Grenada, which had received a favorable response from the High Court, maintained that a coroner's inquest had to be done before the charge of murder could be read to the accused officers. He said in the absence of that, the judge should find the filing of the complaint unlawful and irregular. Zena Dyer, who represents one of the accused, stated that leave ought to be granted in the matter under those circumstances. Meanwhile, attorney in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shoma Dalrymple, informed the court that an inquest had convened, and in the case of the matter in Grenada, an inquest was necessary to get the bail rolling according to their Coroner's Act. She further stated that Dominica's legislation allows for the criminal proceedings and inquest to run parallel. Justice Thomas informed the court that he would be handing down his decision soon. Meanwhile, Police Public Relations Officer Inspector Claude Wicks confirmed that the officers are being kept at the Roseau Police Headquarters. This has been the local segment of the news.